My name is Robert Bierwolf. I work for the Dutch Ministry of the Interior for the Bureau Gateway. And if it's correct, my colleague, Dr. Pieter Frijns, is also on board, but possibly as an unassigned participant. He's the head of the Bureau. And let me open this presentation by saying, once there was a man who said, I have a dream. And I would say, I have an idea, I have observations I want to share. I'm looking for others to connect and to start dialogue. So as a government, we also run major projects, and not all of them are successful, so to speak. And we are understanding that this has been going on for quite a long time. And actually, there's an upcoming paper to be published by Pieter, Jeffrey Pinto, and Mr. Ika about 100 years of pain and still no success. So it's an ongoing thing which makes you wonder, how does it come, doesn't it? Ourselves, Pieter and I, we are primarily practitioners. We're basically practitioners, but we also try to embed research in the ongoing and normal process of the work that we conduct. And we are, I would say, inspired by the grounded theory approach. We use the gateway reviews as a source of data. So this presentation is not about the gateway review itself. You can find it, it's being used in the UK, but it's also used in Australia and New Zealand. And maybe our submission of our extended paper may lead to new connections down under to talk about this. So the reviews provide us data. We conduct some 40 reviews per year, which is far less than, for example, happens in the UK. And from the reviews, we get the data. And the data to that respect are the review reports, which contain the recommendations. And what we do, we codify the recommendations from which we then see patterns emerging. And the patterns we discuss in focus groups to give meaning to those patterns. And then we change our behavior on the basis thereof. This is one of the findings earlier reported. We called this model the lucky clover. And we actually noticed that many of our recommendations were on the right-hand side of the clover, dealing with the primarily with the process of project management. But there was also a need and interest to discuss how do we work together, our culture and our relations. And so we noticed the imbalance started to steer towards creating more balance. Right-hand side, typical hard factors, left-hand side, typical soft factors, the human factor, which kind of coincides with the idea that Professor Stuart Clark mentioned in the first session on November 3rd. Projects are social endeavors. As I said, we try to or have been inspired by Miller's Prism, where we think about how we go about from data to patterns through coding, using focus group to give meaning, and ultimately changing our way of working. Do note that the Gateway Reviews is supported by a so-called Gateway Review community. These are all civil servants from the Dutch government. We have some 300 of them. They are all at the level of senior responsible owners. So to that end, we're not necessarily trying to change the behavior of project managers, but change the behavior of the responsible owners, understanding that we deal with human factors, collaborating, people truly trying to collaborate. We once referred to this thought as research through project management, which we try and hope to foster by basically saying, let's not have one-off research projects, but have it continuously almost embedded or as a side process, supporting activity process with our normal way of doing, through which we can create a control loop. One thing to really understand is the gateway reviews we do in the Netherlands are not done from a compliance and control perspective. Neither are they mandatory. They are voluntary, but they are positioned from a offering a helping hand and from a learning perspective. And the Gateway review community then operates as a community of practice, which is built on trust from peers. And that's actually, I guess, maybe a magical reason why it's working, why this learning way of learning works. At this point in time, as it's an ongoing activity, we have left the social, the Lucky Clover, and we have moved towards this new model, a new artifact we refer to as the Wheel of Connection. Now, the artifact's purpose really is to engage our dialogues during the Gateway reviews. So it's not a framework that must be filled in, but it offers the ability to talk about certain subjects. This new model we've just introduced this year, so we are waiting for more data to come through the Gateway reviews we conduct to see how this operates, what new patterns will emerge, and how that may induce a change of behavior. The mere fact that we are able to discuss this one is already a change in behavior, because now we're talking about things like shared ownership, because it's not necessarily one responsible owner that drives the major projects, but there is a association of different entities that need to take care of it. I think I'm almost done with my 8 minutes. So I would like to basically say, did it inspire any of the audience? And might this be leading to new dialogue with others from you? Thanks.